Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. And we have a very special guest. I mean, he already has the key to the front door. He's been here more times than I can count on two hands. Steel Rain, one half of the outstanding duo known as Living Split Screen, Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. with, of course, Pong Soul. Steel, how the heck are you, brother? We got a lot of news. The gaming gods, or the gaming news gods, man, they have been plentiful in the last couple of days.
As they continue to be in this golden age of gaming. Look, Boom, I'm Mr. Live Raw Uncut himself, Mr. RTS View, Steel Rain. That's I, Steel Rain, I, that T is a 7 everywhere. And look, Boom, I'm just excited to be here. There has been a lot of news buzzing the streets, at least especially on Twitter. Some of the things on YouTube I've been seeing have been kind of crazy too. But nonetheless, it's definitely a good time to get into some things. And just in time, because you're helping me push through, Boom, because we're only hours away from that wonderful Diablo 4 early access.
Oh man, that's right. Yeah, I bought it. But I'm not going to play it, folks, because Mrs. BoomStick and I are going to start that adventure together over the weekend, and let's hope that this time around, because I'm probably still picking a barbarian, and she's probably going to pick the sorcerer as she does. Now that we have, this is not the beta, it's the full-on release. We'll be able to fix the camera. We'll take our time with some of the options and make it, fit for our usage, if you will. I'm hoping that we walk away from it incredibly excited, and then once we start seeing some of the powers or the magic come in when you get leveled up, maybe we'll appreciate it a little bit more. But listen, I'm in on that, and of course I bought Street Fighter 6. Because, I'm a Street Fighter stan, and I'm looking forward to that as well. Again, lots of gaming news to get into. But look, before we get into Fable, and I kind of want to just caveat this for a hot second. There were a couple of comments, Steel, before we went live of people trying to be Debbie Downers. Now, listen, look, I'm not going to call anybody out. You're entitled to your opinion. If you feel that what I'm going to show in the second half of the show, which Xbox put out there, that suggests, at least to me, that Fable is going to be there, whether it is the new Fable by Playground Games or the rumor that seems to be running around that a Fable trilogy, remaster is potentially coming for the 20th anniversary next year. Whichever take you have, I think Fable is going to be there. I think it's going to be there in a big way. We both know someone that has worked on Fable. We both know, and we've been told that it is a stunning looking game. And we're very privileged to have that information. I have no doubt that Playground Games is going to deliver. But what I will not stand for is for people to come into the chat and be complete D-bags. Because if you want to have your opinion and you want to doubt whether this is real or not, that's entirely okay. But understand that I am not going to have my excitement, because my excitement for this show is at a 15 out of 10. Now, if I'm disappointed, I will give Xbox the business as you would expect me to do. But Steel, I appreciate you being here. Before we get into all of the crazy Fable news, folks, we got to talk about some Redfall news that came the way, of course, and I begrudgingly give credit where credit is due, because you know how I feel about Jason Schreier. He is not a good person at all. He is a self-aware journalist that steps on anyone he can to make his name more popular, and I just think he's a terrible person. But to be fair, if I'm going to use someone's work as a talking point, I do got to give him credit where credit is due. He broke the story on Bloomberg.com regarding some of the behind-the-scenes development woes of Redfall. And I have those queued to get into. And, of course, I pulled this tweet, a good friend of mine personally and a great friend of the community, Idle Sloth, who, of course, posted all of this. And again, the article itself is behind a paywall. I don't subscribe to Bloomberg, so I am going to use what Idle Sloth had put out there. And we have learned, folks, that This game's development started in 2018 before Microsoft had purchased Bethesda, and that really is a lot to get into regarding this. I'm gonna read directly from the article. It was written by Jason Schreier of Bloomberg.com, and we have Tariq Musa wrote that it seems that there was an issue at every element of the development for Redfall. He goes on to say, in the end, Redfall feels unpolished, underdone, underwhelmed, and uncomfortable. And in another excerpt, and this is a little bit long, folks, so bear with me as I read. The makers of Redfall, the mediocre reception was no big surprise. The project suffered from unclear direction, frequent attrition, and perennial lack of staff, according to more than a dozen people who worked on the game, speaking anonymously because they were not authorized to discuss it publicly. A spokesperson for Redfall's publisher, Bethesda Softworks, declined comment. Now, here's where we get into the weeds of things, folks. According to the article, Steele, development of Redfall began in 2018. At the time, ZeniMax, the large privately held owner of Bethesda Softworks, was looking to sell itself behind the scenes. And the company was encouraging its studio to develop games that could generate revenue beyond its initial sale, a popular trend dubbed games as a service, which was at that time, Steele, taking off in the late 2010s thanks to the lucrative hits of Overwatch and Fortnite. Now, according to people familiar with the process, Steele, ZeniMax was strongly urging developers and its subsidiaries to implement microtransactions. That is, reoccurring opportunities within games for players to spend real money, say outfitting their characters. Although this wasn't an absolute mandate, several ZeniMax franchises, such as Fallout, Doom, and Wolfenstein, would soon release new versions incorporating this. The one thing that we learned, Steele, is they lost over 90 staffers, 90 developers who walked off of the job. And the reason why, Steele, is because they were uncomfortable, uneasy, did not like the direction. This is a studio known for its single player content. And being that they were being, according to the article, quote unquote, forced to make this multiplayer game, it appears that a lot of people's hearts weren't into the job. And that's why they lost over 90 people. Now, look, Steele, you played the game with Pong Soul for about 6 hours. I'm going to tell you folks right now, I've put over 50 hours into it. I played it mostly single player. I played maybe about 2 hours multiplayer, and I quite enjoyed it. Now, is the game perfect? By all means, no. It is. The AI is atrocious. The no cutscenes is a big problem in modern gaming. There's also the fact that there were a lot of ideas that were started, and unfortunately, Steele, they weren't finished. Let's get to your opinion on this Jason Schreier article. Are you surprised by anything that we have learned today?
I think the most surprising thing that I garnered from that was I don't recall hearing about the 90 people leaving, right? I knew they were having some issues figuring out the whole live service aspect, and we're moving in that direction, mainly because if you guys don't remember, ZeniMax and Bethesda were on their own to try to support themselves. And their recent games, because of their style of games and as big as their games are, in the way that gaming has kind of evolved, especially with the digital era, they weren't selling enough necessarily to withhold themselves, especially at the level of detail that the Bethesda and ZeniMax typically puts into their games. So it made sense that they were going to try to go into the live service aspect of things to either one, recoup a lot of that money, or just to get something that was going to hit for them, right? Now, I'm of a couple minds on the whole aspect of Redfall and the people leaving and whatnot. On one side, it is such a blessing and a wonderful thing to hear that those people were able to leave their job, right? Because that's a powerful choice to be able to make. At the end of the day, that's a choice. You had 90 people that left. You weren't able to give them enough of a reason to keep them. So it's a very telling sign, and it's also a very powerful thing. But the other side of that too is, at the end of the day, they still have to deliver a game. And if the game was so far in development to at the point when Xbox acquired them, that it was kind of too late to either cancel the game because it would be a waste of resources, and it wasn't necessarily worth delaying because it wasn't going to improve the game from where it was at in that position, as we've heard, and also from what I've personally experienced throughout the game, because the game is missing a lot of elements, and it literally looks like it was made in a vacuum, by itself, on Pluto, where sometimes it's considered a planet and other times it's just considered a rock. You're confused about which aspect and why the game was treated this way, or why there just seemed to be a blatant miss as far as attention to detail, especially with the AI. That's something that's extremely important to me personally. I know a lot of people would jump in and be like, man, why are you judging the AI? Not everything has to be sweaty. And it's not about that. But even when you play on the hardest difficulty, people are recommending you play on the hardest difficulty. So you have any semblance of a
challenge. Yeah.
That's not a good look. I mean, sure, the vampires are aggressive and you can have some good moments with that, but when your moment-to-moment gameplay is very mediocre in a way that it doesn't carry the game, you were missing some things. And I think Xbox knew that when they were going into this, and were just bracing for the impact. Again, we've also heard behind the scenes that, they rated the game higher, so maybe they were hoping it was going to do better than anticipated. But yeah, man, it screams that there was a lack of vision. I mean, you play the game, it tells you that there was some vision there that wasn't fully thought out. Which is a super mishap in my opinion, right? Because it could have definitely been a solid game, and I do think that the game overall does have some. I won't necessarily, I'll say that it has legs, but it has chicken legs, right? It's one of those guys where you go to the gym and you're working out, you look over, you're like, man, he does not believe in leg day. But you need to believe in leg day. I mean, like getting your core, like even your core is weak right now. So maybe you got to do core and legs, just focus on that, because up top,
I did core and legs today. It's funny you say that.
see, Boom's on it. Why can't
and
Redfall
I'm dying right now.
So why can't Redfall get on it? So Redfall is extremely top heavy, and it makes sense, especially coming from Jason Schreier. Again, say what you want to about the man, he still does do the work comparatively to other folks who don't. So I take his words at face value and just kind of go from there. But at the end of the day, it's super unfortunate things that played out this way, but I do still find it interesting that even ZeniMax at that point, maybe it just represents their dire straits that they were in at that time, where they lost that type of staff and still tried to push through. It's like, for somebody that looks at the industry from more of an RTS view, like pulling myself out of it most of the time, it's just like, how did you guys let that happen? And how you didn't do anything to adjust for that, or you just had faith, or did Xbox acquiring you at least allow you to release this game so you didn't feel like you were wasting the resources? Like, so what was really going on? It just, I want to know more about that lead up to that point where, ZeniMax, Bethesda, and Xbox finally offered that deal. They sat at the table and said, hey, we've done business for long enough. Why not come into the family? So it's interesting, but it's definitely a weird situation nonetheless.
Well, I am going to say this. One of the things that we did learn, now, obviously, when they had that sit-down meeting with Welcome Bethesda into Xbox Game Studios, we had learned, Steele, that Microsoft was going to take a hands-off approach to ZeniMax and to Bethesda, because they have their own leaders, right? Pete Hines is obviously top guy right there. Todd Howard, again, another major leader. Now, some of the other leaders I don't really know. I know them, but I know that the leadership there is strong. Now, one of the takeaways from the Kind of Funny interview with Phil Spencer, who was dejected. There's just no doubt about it. That's not the normal Phil Spencer that we know and love. He was disappointed. He was aggravated. This is coming off the heels of the CMA block, which after, I don't know if anyone's been keeping your ear to the score, the CMA, they don't know what the F they're doing, folks. They got railroaded and embarrassed in live TV. I summoned it. I was talked about it last night on Primetime Gaming, which, by the way, had 900 people show up, which is crazy, right? The CMA is going to get their ass handed to them on the 12th. And I'm saying this, I know I'm not going to talk about it, but I have to say it because it's fresh in the mind. If the CMA is listening and you know what's good for you, you might want to consider taking the concessions like the EU did and not being embarrassed. I'll just say that. But getting back to this, there might be, can't say that there is. I'm not in the scenes. I don't work for Xbox or Bethesda, so I can't say. I can only, make an assumption, and maybe I make an ass out of myself still. I don't know. But there's definitely something that has to change with this full on, I'm just going like this. Because I don't know what happened from when they first started to the game to when they released the game, but someone like a Pete Hines, if you see the game is like this, maybe you cancel it, maybe you delay it. I don't know what to say. Like I said, I enjoyed my time with it. I truly did. And once if there is going to be any DLC, because I did buy the Bite Back edition, additional content, I will play it. I enjoyed it. I'm not going to apologize for enjoying a game.
No, you shouldn't.
But according to the article, and I want to kind of continue talking about this, they said there was a significant amount of multiplayer tension during the development. And the article goes on to say, since its founding in 1999, Steel, Arcane had become known for games called immersive sims, single-player experiences in which players strive to overcome obstacles in multiple ways, from combat to stealth maneuvers. Yet from the start, Redfall was pitched to staff as a multiplayer Arcane game, which some team members said they found confusing. Whether the sort of gameplay that the studio specialized in would be technically possible in a multiplayer environment was an open question through many of the staffers. Now it goes on to say, developers under Smith and Bear, who were the leads on this game, said that they were outwardly excited, but as the project progressed, failed to provide clear direction. Staff members said that over time they grew frustrated with management's frequently shifting references to other games such as Far Cry and Borderlands that left each department with varying ideas of what exactly they were making. Throughout the development, Steel, the fundamental tension between single player and multiplayer design remained unresolved. Smith and Bear did not respond to the questions from Jason Schreier for comment. I mean, I gotta be honest with you, this thing sounds awful. And I don't know. Look, there's something to be said about studios that are masters of their craft in whatever field that may be. If it's a single player, let them make single player content. If it's multiplayer, like for instance, you take the incredible staff at the Coalition, right? That was run by Rod Ferguson, who now just launched Diablo 4 with Blizzard. So congratulations to Rod Ferguson and that entire team. The game is scoring ridiculous high
praise,
reviews. The Coalition could dance on both sides, right? They are talented enough where they can make an incredible multiplayer game that has set trends for decades, and as well as deliver incredible story-driven single-player content. Not everyone can do that. Not everyone is staffed to do that. So I again, now that the product is out, it's reviewed as it was reviewed. It got destroyed, and that's the bottom line. It got destroyed. Do I think that it's a 4? I certainly do not. Do I think it's an 8? It depends. I might rate it higher because I really had such a great time with the game. But I understand if someone's like, oh, Boom, you're crazy. It's a 6. Okay, not a problem. Let's not argue. Let's talk it out. If it's a 6 for you and it's 8 for me, that's okay, right?
Yeah, people are saying it's a lot lower than that, but it's like what I spoke to earlier too, where I was saying it just speaks on the talent of the dev studio themselves too, because at the end of the day, you still have to deliver a product. And if there wasn't a cohesive vision, again, you can't say Borderlands and Far Cry and expect for especially this team who made immersive sims, more single player focused games, to understand what that's supposed to mean. To all of a sudden understand how co-op works, to understand what makes it enticing, to understand what like the game, like literally as far as what I've experienced thus far, there is no weapon. There's no weapon like progression system really where it entices you to get the next good gun, or you have multiple varieties of different guns. So you didn't even hit on that aspect or try to. So that's why you hear a lot of people say, well, there's a lot of things in here that seem like they started on and never finished. And it's one of those things. Now, again, the fact that you still feel like it could be still anywhere between a 6 to an 8, or maybe even higher, depending on how you're feeling and just off your personal experience, I think still does speak to the team themselves, right? That they were still able to create something and it come out to some sort of completion, whether that's acceptable to us or not. And again, I mean, the numbers are going to speak for themselves. And at least for Arcane, their games haven't sold the greatest previously. And this game potentially was supposed to be something to help them continue to make more games previously before they were acquired. But then now that they are acquired, they have a chance to say, hey, yeah, this is our first game that we kind of really missed the mark on. And now we'll go move on to something that we all care about. We can all have a cohesive vision under. We have plenty. We have a publishing team that understands the type of games that we make. And now we know that Xbox is supposed to be being more hands-on. And again, to your point, Boom, it's like, if Bethesda was being hands-off, and obviously that they were, because again, you can't let 90 people go and then say, hey guys, well, keep working on that game that you don't know how to fully create. And then you bring it in the Xbox, who is known for the multiplayer aspect and making cohesive things, making cohesive titles, I should say. And then you say, oh, I'm going to be hands-off too. Like that doesn't go hand in hand with each other. But again, it speaks to a lot of what's going on currently within the industry, a lot of the issues that are seemingly happening, and why people are having that conversation of why do people even feel like Microsoft can't handle these things? I feel like they do. And again, it's growth pains. You can't go from 5 to 7 studios to 30 within a span of less than 10 years and figure it all out. But I do think they will, and it's taking time, but there's no excuses, right? Games are games, and whether people are going to buy them or not, you're going to have to eat that loss at the end of the day if it doesn't sell the way it's supposed to.
No, I mean, it's a great point. Look, Darnell Hill, good friend of the program, says the problem is forcing devs into stuff they don't want to make, proving Microsoft's approach is correct.
See, that's not the problem, though. That would be, for me, the way that I take that would be kind of an incorrect, a little bit of an incorrect thought process there, because at the end of the day, if you're a company that is responsible for creating a product and you have no insight into whether this is going to be successful, whether your own company is going to be successful, never mind your publishing company known as ZeniMax was going to be able to withstand whatever that you were creating. And you're just creating something that not only the publisher feels is going to be great, or at least beneficial to your team, to your studio, could be the just one. Nothing's wrong with trying, right? And again, I see what you're saying by them possibly being forced into it, but they still have to deliver a product. You still have to be a team and create something. And if the team, especially after being brought in by Xbox, was so far in development to the point that they couldn't go back in at a fundamental level because it was just that kind of broken apart, or maybe not enough people understood what was going on, then you're going to get what you got, right? It's one miss for Arcane, and I don't think that they should be written completely off because of that. The year prior, or a couple of years prior, whichever it was, Deathloop was up for Game of the Year, and that's from them.
I'm glad, man. You are.
I don't like it's not me.
We're on the same page here, and I'm glad that you brought it up, because you're right, Steele. I have seen some folks throw the hands up and be like, you know what? This ever since they've come to Xbox, they've ruined another studio. This is the 3-4. Listen, I'm going to say this. I got to say it, Steele. I did not like Deathloop. Like, I tried it on 2 consoles. I put the exact same 4 to 6 hours in. I was like, yep, this is just
but you like Redfall.
But I like Redfall. The thing is this. Just last year, Steele.
It's not perfect.
They made a game of the year. In fact, it was on most websites.
Yeah.
Was game of the year.
It was rated like 9 out of 10.
Yeah, so to suggest that they can't rebound from this in like a Prey 2 or Dishonored 3 or even a new IP that's single player, I think people are just blowing smoke.
Yeah, and like Biscuit was selling. That's kind of the point that I was Biscuit 2005 in the chat. He was like, imagine telling your boss, I don't feel like making this game, and that's kind of like. So the 90 people just left because they said they were making a live service game and they were just allowed to leave just cause like they could just break their contract, or maybe they didn't have a contract. Like what it was like, that's the other question like nobody's asking or focusing on. Like, so you're just gonna say 90 people and say that, oh, they didn't feel like work. I wish that anybody could just go to your job one day and be like, they're gonna tell you you're gonna work on a project, and you just say, you know what? I really don't feel like doing that.
I got a funny story, funny NYPD story for you. Now, I came out at a time, right? I came out in 94. And you know, the job was packed with dinosaurs.
Not yet.
Now, I was eventually called a dinosaur because, you know, I got older. So what I called other people, eventually they called me. It's funny how it goes around. Well, this is a funny story. It's a rookie story. And it's not about me. It's about another rookie. And later on in my career, when I got closer to retirement, a lot of the classes still had kids that were from a generation where they felt they didn't have to earn their stripes, so to speak. When I came out, I didn't see the inside of a car for 3 years. And what does that mean? I walked a foot post as a cop in New York City in the Bronx for almost 3 years, because that's just how it worked. That's how it was. You had to earn your dues. Well, this particular rookie, was walking a beat as they should. That's life. And the captain of the command that I was at, rolled up on them because you got to check on the rookies, you got to make sure they're okay. And with his hat off, no salute to the captain, he tells him, Steele, Cap, I got to be honest with you, this foot post thing, really not for me, man. When am I going to get into a car? Oh, my. I couldn't believe that. I actually asked the kid, I'm like, did you really say that? Yeah, well, because, everyone else was in the car. So needless to say that they transferred that kid, and they probably I don't know where they sent him. He got transferred. He got booted out of the command, which is not a good thing when you're new. But that's the vision that I'm getting when you're saying 90 people just walked off the job. Hey, you're making live service, I'm out.
Yeah, like it doesn't make any. We haven't heard any rumors about that. We haven't heard anything. Like people are mentioning in the chat. It's just like something doesn't quite add up there. So if there is any truth, it's like, were y'all really that much of dire straits that people could just walk out whenever they want to? Because again, those 90 people, whether they love the game or not, could have made a more successful product at the end of the day if there was vision there. But if they were just allowed to walk away, then again, that's something else that you have to discuss as part of the conversation. And again, one miss out of their history of games that a lot of people are coming together. And again, people are having their fun with it. Nothing against it. I'm not going to hold it against them. But I've played the game. I think it's weak. I've played some of the other games. And I thought they were all right. They're not my style of game, so I don't hold that type of criticism to them. And like somebody was mentioning in chat, like, oh, well, that was this team from Arcane. And it's like, we can break things down like that. At the end of the day, Arcane is Arcane. Nobody's going to look at it that way.
Yeah, whether you're in the same state or it doesn't matter. If you're a part of the Arcane team,
it's like Ubisoft.
Yeah. It's I get what you're saying, that there's different. There's one in Austin. There's one over. Right. I totally get all of that, but at the end of the day, it's still Arcane Studios.
And as a collective, they know how to make good games, right? So it's like, I don't know, to each their own. And again, there's nothing wrong you're going to take your misses. It's just like the Phil Spencer quote. You can't be in this industry and be scared to put out a game that's going to rate as a 6 Metacritic, right? It's part of the industry. Not everybody's going to love everything, and hey, it is what it is. Again, it doesn't excuse it.
No,
and there's no reason for it. And damn sure that Xbox should have stepped in there and said, "Hey, man, we like to make multiplayer games. What the entire mess is this?"
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. No, I mean, listen, the questions should have been asked, right? I'm sure. I mean, listen, you can say, and again, I'm glad that the story has come out, because many reporters, many people in this community immediately equated Phil Spencer. This is his fault. Now, ultimately, it's technically his fault because he is the head of Microsoft Gaming, but he's one human being. That's the same thing with Matt Booty. I see a lot of criticism from Matt. And I don't know Matt personally, but he is handling 23 studios. Now, I'm not making excuses. He's getting a lot of money to do that. But at the same time, there were people suggesting, well, Matt Booty should have known. He should have walked right into Bethesda and said, let me see what's going on. I actually don't think it works like that, especially when you have Microsoft that's allowing Bethesda to be Bethesda. Now, obviously, that ideology worked for Deathloop, right? Game of the Year ranking did not work so much for Redfall. Now we have the minutia of it. There were people that walked off. They were uncomfortable about making a multiplayer game as opposed to a single player game, which is what they're known for. And you know what? Let me catch up on the super chats before we get onto Fable and we finish off this topic, because a couple of them do happen, especially on one from X Don the Otaku. He says something pretty interesting. First of all, Drawn TJ, generous friend of the program, drops not one but $2 super chats, and the first one he says, "Hello guys." Hello to you, TJ. Welcome as always. The second one he says, "The deal will be done by July." I have a strong suspicion that you are correct in saying so. The thrashing that the CMA took at the hands of Cat and the two lawyers for both Activision and Microsoft just eviscerated the attorney, and everything that they said was shot down. It just, at the end of the day, the CMA is there are two ways to look at this, folks. Sorry for this the talk again, but listen, it's a super chat. I got to talk about it. There are two ways to look at what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Either the CMA is going to realize that they don't have a chance in hell to have the CAT agree with their assessment of cloud being a separate market, which we all know it's not. It's honestly so easy to explain how it's just a delivery system. I don't understand how they got there, but they got there, and they are wrong. They're 100% wrong. They're either going to dig their heels in the sand further and be embarrassed further. And I don't know if the parliament, I don't know if the prime minister, I don't know if CAT themselves want to see this continue spiraling down this like a toilet. That's really what's happening with the CMA. Everything that they blocked on is wrong. So I don't know why they would consider moving forward on this, because they're stubborn, because they're wrong and they know they're wrong. So if they dig their heels in the sand, we get a decision in August, and it's probably going to come the way of Cat, and Cat's not going to send it back to the CMA because they will have quashed the cloud SLC, because we know that the console SLC has already been taken off the board by the CMA themselves. Or, which is, I think cooler heads should prevail here, Steele, CMA says, yeah, we got our asses handed to us, just the other day, and the 12th isn't looking any better. Maybe we should just take the concessions and come to a decision. Who knows at this point? I can tell you one thing, almost absolutely 1,000% sure: the deal is going to go through. Now, granted, it's crazy things could happen, but I doubt it. The way the judge was speaking, Judge Smith seemed to be very on point with what's happening, and the statement of, we're not going to do things as we normally have done them, and we're not going to rush through this. We're going to get this right. Basically tells me that they're going to do the right thing, because ultimately There's nothing wrong with this deal. We all said that from the beginning. But Steele, listen, let me catch up on continue with the super chats. We have Stay High Triple F drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Can we get some of their something he to be said merch?" I mean, that's interesting. I never had a merch request like that, but I will definitely consider it. I have to find the right and there's something to be said. That's funny. I say it all the time. I don't even realize I say that. X Don the Otaku drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "I believe studios should be pushed out of their comfort zone, Steele, every now and then. The Animal Crossing team apparently made Splatoon, which I freaking did not even know that. I don't want excuses. I mean, listen, I hear you. I mean, yes, I see what you're saying, and yeah, it is sometimes for creativity purposes. Maybe people want to be pushed out of their comfort zone to make something that they normally haven't made. But for me personally, I kind of like for instance, everyone's been saying for years the coalition should do something that's not Gears, and even though I agree with that, because I think
passionate about it though.
Yeah, but that's their thing, right? Like that's what they do. They make
love Gears too.
Everyone that's on that team, at least
Gears.
from what I understand, Steele, honestly and truly wants to be a part of the coalition because that is what they do.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Like when I hear people say that, oh, I want the coalition to make something different. Great. But the thing about the coalition that is different from a lot of the companies that are under Xbox currently is that the coalition was created at a time to where Xbox was making that transition of, hey, you're the studio, create the game, and the coalition was created to handle Gears, right? Now, not saying that they can't make other games if they wanted to, like we have heard in the background that they probably were, but I do still believe, even if they were working on this other side project, that the coalition, bare minimum, would have had to say so to say, hey, well, we're far along in this project. Let's go ahead and put this out, and then we'll get the Gears and take everything that we moved over.
Yeah,
something has happened in a conversation between the coalition and Microsoft. And again, I only say this because the coalition is one of Microsoft's most dependent studios, right? Along with 343, which is why there was given so much leeway and the game came out the way that it did. Now, the fortunate thing on the coalition side is that they have hit every game. Right. So after they came in on the back end of 3, 4, and then 5, the games have been extremely consistent. Gears is just it's an enemy of itself because it's not once outside of the story. Once you get that initial engagement, and people play that, not everybody's going to move over to the multiplayer. There's a lot of conversation with that going on currently. Like, oh, we want more single player the next Gears than multiplayer, and you guys should kind of, I've been seeing a lot of that going on. But it's like they do both really well. And I do think that they had a moment to say, hey, well, we can work on this other project that we got going on, but we feel like we've learned enough that we're excited to work on the next Gears. That's what they do. But my point with that is I do think that they have enough say so to say, hey, we want to try some different things. We want to do A, B, and C, and then we'll get back to Gears, especially with the type of tenure that Gears has within the industry. So that's my biggest point. Coalition is a little bit differently, and you're seeing that with a lot of the internal Microsoft studios under Xbox, where they're getting that say so. And now as studios are coming in, they're being more open to that, or maybe are being more open to the experience, because that's not typically how things have been in gaming. And for better or for worse, they're figuring it out, and not everything is going to be perfect. So,
no, I mean, great points as always. 2 more super chats to get to, then we're going to get into Fable, folks. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. Fable's one of my favorite franchises. I finished one, I think, 6 times. And I loved every minute of it. It's my favorite of the series. I do like 2. 3, I beat it. It was good. It wasn't great, but I go back to the GOAT, and that's Fable 1. But JT Koo drops a very generous $10 super chat, and as much as I appreciate the generosity, JT, it's really the comment that just makes it all worth it. He goes on to say, Big fan of the show. It always makes my work days so much easier. I listen to all of the podcasts in its entirety every time. Great panel, great discussions. Brother, that's very kind of you to say.
Much
And
love.
of
Appreciate
course, it is incredibly generous of you to drop the $10 super chat. So thank you so much for that. Raiden Blade, good and generous friend of the program, drops a £5 super chat. He says, Jason the Rat Man totally points to ZeniMax and not Xbox. Yes, I do want to make that clear. Normally, Jason takes the shots whenever he can of Xbox. Some people in the chat are suggesting this is damage control, timing because of the PlayStation show, and he's trying to dump some negativity onto Xbox. I mean, any chance he gets for Xbox negativity, he's going to take it. I didn't see his shocking and appalling article about PlayStation completely shitting the bed on their showcase. But, listen, everyone is going to write what they want to write. He goes on to say, I blame Pete Hines because he also helps look over ZeniMax. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the same way Phil Spencer's looked upon as the end-all stopgap, and he's the head of Microsoft Gaming. You know what I'm saying? He took it on the chin for that kind of funny interview, as a good leader does. I have not seen anything from Pete Hines. I haven't seen anyone. I don't even know who's the head of ZeniMax. I don't even know. But listen, at the end of the day, there were some failings. The game came out. It's mediocre at best. For me, like I said, I enjoyed it, but it has a lot of shortcomings. It's a shame. It's a shame because if you played the game, every one of the characters are incredibly interesting. There is a story to be told. It does end on a cliffhanger, but I don't think we're going to get a sequel. And if we do, we will be lucky. But let's move on to the big topic of the show, folks. And that is Fable. Now, what I want to do is I want to pause this footage and I want to do a screen share because, for context, folks, I want to show the post on Twitter from Xbox that had everyone doing a Fable rally cry, including myself. So let me set that up, Steele, and let me do the screen share right now. Let's see. Where are you? No, that's that. Okay, yeah, here it is right here. So I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to go there right now. Hold on just a second. Let me just set this up. And I want to make sure I'm going to do full screen. Let me know if you folks can hear it, please. This is what Xbox tweeted the other day. Basically, it says, folks, do you love games as much as we do? Then you won't want to miss the Xbox Games Showcase. And here is the full-on commercial, or the advertisement for what happened. Here we go.
I can hear it.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna let it play one more time, just so people just coming in. We have closing in on 700 people here, so please hit the like button and subscribe if you're not unsubscribed. But this is what set the community off in a tizzy. Okay, so now I'm gonna stop screen sharing. Let me just shut that down. Okay, so Steele, look. At the end of the day, we talked about this in the green room. Like, artwork, subjective. Opinions, subjective.
Absolutely.
Game reviews. A game comes out and one gives it a 15 out of 10, and the other one gives it a 1 out of 10.
Right.
Subjective. Now, I saw this, and because I'm such a Fable fan, I personally have immediately equated what they were trying to tell or suggest as there's going to be some sort of Fable reveal. Now you say, how do I come to this conclusion, Steele? Well, it looked like fairy dust. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, it does.
But
it's exactly what it is.
It looks like fairy dust. They followed the trail. If you took it, a lot of people took a lot of screenshots. Apparently, this person was Melissa Game Pass, which is a fictional character, but we know that she's always in the mix of putting out these very auspicious tweets about Xbox Game Pass, about some of its games, and now about what potentially could be a Fable reveal. Now, we've seen a lot of different opinions. Most people are excited to the point of this show is going to be a 15 out of 10, and I'm one of those people. And you know something, if I'm let down by Xbox, there are two people to blame. First of all, I'll blame myself because I put this show on a pedestal. I said it was going to be a 15 out of 10, and they delivered, let's say, a 7 or 8 out of 10. So I'm going to be disappointed. So I'm immediately have to blame myself. And then secondly, I'm going to have to blame Xbox because if this turns out to be another marketing nightmare like they did a couple of years ago, where and I pulled a tweet from Pong Soul. I'm going to pull it up in a second because before one of their showcases, what's that?
No, I was saying that he did make a good post about that.
Yeah, he made a great post, and I think I sent it to you. So before, let me just try and find that. But
yeah, you did.
If it turns out that it's a bit of it's a misstep, then that's going to be incredibly disappointing. Yeah, I got Pong Soul's tweet right here in front of me, and he posted this, folks. He says, with all the Fable talk starting last night, it sparked a memory. Xbox Game Studios Publishing made a mistake or made mistake tweets on October 17th of 2021. And with its inclusion of Melissa McGame Pass in the showcase teaser yesterday, could we have a surprise on June 11th? Now, what he was referring to, and I have both those tweets in front of me, it says, we're excited to kick off something special tomorrow. Just give us one more day to prepare the chickens. Now, again, still subjective, but when you think of chickens, I think of Fable because you used to be able to kick them, and that was a thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, the second tweet goes on to say, we'd call it our Fable anniversary, but that name was already taken. And that comes the way of Xbox Game Studios publishing their official Twitter account, and we got a lot of pushback from certain people. A perfect example of that is a good friend of the community. We both like him, and we both think that he does have high levels of integrity. We're talking about Jeff Grubb. He posted something last night that kind of got him in trouble with the community, and he had to delete it. And what that was a picture of a character stepping on a rake, basically insinuating that that's Microsoft stepping on a rake once again with this Fable shenanigans. And a lot of people blew up his spot, and he was so frustrated by the responses that he was getting that he deleted his tweet. Now, obviously, we know that this is the internet. You can delete it yourself, but we know that it's out there. I have a copy of it. Everyone has a copy of it. Our DMs have a copy of it. Listen, that's his opinion. He's entitled to it. I like Jeff. I think Jeff has gotten it right. Jeff has gotten it wrong, like we all have. And I would say he's probably around 60-40 right to wrong. He's gotten a lot of things wrong. He's got a lot of things right. So I don't know if he knows something definitively about Fable not being there, why he posted that, but maybe he did it for engagement. I don't know because I'm not Jeff Grubb. But still, this sent the community in a positive way, positive excitement, because we obviously saw a Fable trailer in 2020. And it's been 3 years.
Yes.
You and I have the privilege of knowing someone on the dev team. We've both talked to this person. They have both told us, just wait and see. You're going to be blown away. So I trust the person that I spoke to. You trust the person you spoke to. That gives me great confidence. Now, the question, and again, I sent it to you in the DM, and I have a quote here. I want to bring it up because Randall Thor talked about this.
Shout out to Rand. Much love.
And this was a comment from Matt Booty, folks, during PAX West of 2022 last year. And he goes on to say, Steele, Booty said that Playground is doing so many cool things with the next generation Fable game that he asked them to share it every time he sees it. And he goes on to say, and I quote, "Part of my job is giving air cover to the team. They don't want to show stuff early before it's ready to go. But if there's one game where that kind of flipped around, where every time I see something of Fable, I say we should show this. It's Fable because there is a lot of cool stuff." Goes on to say, that being said, the team has made it very clear that I am not going to be able to show anything until it's ready. And Booty laughed with the reporter. I think, look, this is a game that is expected to be a quote unquote Sony type of banger. Sorry for using the word, folks. People are looking for, like Cognito, my very good brother of the Iron Lords. He's looking for the hashtag just one. And this is expected to be said game steal.
Greater than, yeah.
So Melissa McGame Pass puts this thing out. Looks like fairy dust. The music sounds very Fable-like.
It is Fable.
What are your thoughts on this? And by all means, go crazy with this. With my question to you.
Ooh, well, I'm gonna have a mixture here, with some behind the scenes information. That the way that I'm gonna mix it up is gonna be in a way that I'm not gonna disclose anything that I've talked about behind the scenes, with the person that Boom and I do both know, as far as Fable goes. But with that into consideration, I'm just going with this entire rumor, in totality, right? I personally do think it would be extremely smart for Xbox to show Fable at this show. At least give us a vertical slice, something somewhat of a gameplay segment, even if it's only 5 to 10 minutes, just so we have an understanding to see whether they're going to hit that initial impact, right? That Fable had back in the day. The humor, the adventure, the diverting paths throughout the story and how that's going to blend, because Fable also did the whole good, evil, and also neutral kind of aspect to where and balance it out really well. It's kind of like Star Wars, how they have the light, the dark, and the gray. Fable had some of those same mechanics, and actually balanced them really well in how you traverse through the story and the decisions that you made. So for me, when I am expecting, especially off of that video that we got with the fairy dust being all over the place, and again, shout out to that person being willing to put glitter in their carpet. It has to be something that's official enough, because anybody that has a home, you
dude, the cleanup on that had to be 3 hours.
That's
and you would know
spot,
because you have kids, so I'm sure.
Exactly. Like so it's one of those things where I have to expect that they are ready to show something for Playground's Fable. Now, with that said, as much as I believe they are going to show us a little 5 to 10 minute segment for Fable, I do still think that Fable is probably at least a year to two away from being released.
Yes.
One of the biggest reasons is because Playground was 100% working on been working on the Horizon series for Forza for quite some time, and I don't think until after 5, and I know they got separate teams, but you'd also be kind of crazy to think that they don't go hand in hand with each other. They're pulling people from, again, it's still Playground at the end of the day. And they need everybody on board to create this new experience that is completely outside of their wheelhouse, right? So I do think that after Horizon, they were able to start doubling down more on what they were creating with Fable, while maintaining that other team to say, hey, keep updating Forza Horizon, and to start building up some ideas of what we can do for the next Horizon. And we're going to continue we're going to go over here, work on this game so we can get it out to the people. Now, the number one thing that I do expect to release soon from Fable, and some people brought it up in chat, one, it could be a Fable collection. Now, I kind of hope it's not a Fable collection. The reason I hope that it's not a Fable collection is because I don't want just a remaster of those games. I would rather have a remake, because those games do deserve to be brought forward, right? Some of those mechanics don't carry over really well. Those games do feel old in a lot of ways. So I would like to see those games be remade. But the perfect solution is this. Since you're creating a newer Fable, what would be the problem with you going back to the original Fable and remastering or remaking that one, keeping everything pretty
Great
much the
point.
same, but diving in enough, especially as a studio who this is newer to you, right? You want to have an understanding of what this means. And again, we've all saw that trailer that came out in 2020. So obviously they get where they were trying to, what they're trying to go for. Where did they get that from? Did they go back and play the old Fable, say, hey, these are the elements that we want to build off of. These are the things that we feel like were important. This is what really impacted the world. And you know what? Matter of fact, since we're doing this, we'll put a small team on, hey, what can you guys do to bring this game forward? Because we do want to bring something out, since we're not going to be able to release this probably for another, at that time, 3 to 4 years, and now probably a couple years away. Let's give something people to familiarize themselves that is familiar, right? But that's kind of what I would expect or anticipate to see. It's kind of the same thing that I'm expecting to see from Gears also. It's something in that same vein where you bring the collection to PC. Again, I would rather them completely remaster or remake the first one than release a collection of the trilogy or whatever.
Yeah.
Only because I feel like that would allow you more time to, again, not only learn what the base level of Fable is and what's important to the people, what that original vision was, to do not only do it justice, but also bring justice to the game that you're trying to create and the vision that you're trying to bring to life. So,
you know, first of all, that's a tremendous statement. A lot to unpack there. I'm going to say this: as much as now, I gotta harken back. I gotta just kind of rewind it for a second. If you recall, and you actually were actually on this particular program the day of the Phil Spencer interview. You and I watched it multiple times.
Yes.
Now, as much as I feel that was an unhinged, uncharacteristic Phil, he was still Phil Spencer. And whether he meant to do it, which I don't think he was, because I don't think he was in the right mindset. I think he was so taken aback that's why he was like, yeah, I'm just going to be cranky Phil. Like he was who he was, and we love him for it. And he took it on the chin. Obviously, he's the head dude. He's got to be a good leader. He did what a good leader does. But in that interview, Steele, he talked about Showcase, and he mentioned collections with an S, not a collection, collections. Now, this led to a lot of speculation of the Marcus Phoenix collection being real, which I believe it is. Okay. But this also now lends to the, again, this is just a possibility, folks. Please, by all means, step off the trip to Crazy Town if you don't want to hear. But there could be something to be said about, now I know you said you're not looking so much for a collection of Fable as opposed to a remake of Fable 1 in the new Fable engine. And I think that would be absolutely brilliant because, and say what you want about Naughty Dog's remake of The Last of Us 1, right? They took the PlayStation 5 capability in graphics and they laid it over the original blueprint that was The Last of Us.
Yeah.
And it worked to great succession. Now, I didn't buy the game because I'm not spending $70 for a game I've already beaten twice. I'll wait for it to call into the their greatest hits thing, and I'll play it then. But if they could do that, if they could take the engine, which is supposed to be Unreal Engine 5, and lay that over the original Fable, that would be brilliant, and it would give them, let's say, for instance, you're right. Let's say if that Fable isn't coming out for another 18 months. Let's say that it is somewhere in the middle of 25 or first quarter 25. That's perfectly fine, because what you would have is you'd actually you'd actually do a few things here, Steele. You would introduce new players to the world of Fable so they can get excited for the reboot that's coming, right? Oh, and of course, give your team time, give the fans like us who are diehard Fable fans an opportunity to re-experience the original one and with all the magic and the bells and whistles, puns totally intended, until the new one is released. And I think that would be brilliant. But I'm going to be honest with you. If it is a remastered collection, I'm not going to boo. I'm going to play the H out of it. There's no doubt about it. And probably play all through.
And just to offer a quick correction, Boom, out because Spider-Man threw it in the chat. And I was going to throw it in when I got a moment, but yeah, it's not UE5. It's the Forza Tech engine that they're using.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the
even
correction.
more,
yeah,
which is even more impressive.
It's the new Forza Tech from. Yeah, I totally got that wrong. It's the Forza Tech from Motorsports that is going to be released. Hopefully by the end of the year. I said Unreal Engine 5. I don't know why the hell I said that. You know what? You know who I blame? I'm going to blame him live on the air. Infinite Umbra, Mr. Unreal Engine. He's always here. He's always in my brain with the Unreal Engine. So shout out to him. But yeah, listen, at the end of the day, you got to take everything and make it personal, right? If you feel how I'm feeling, that this is a tease for Fable, good on you. I will say that I'm not going to allow Grub. I'm not going to allow anybody in the chat or anybody on social media or anybody from any website to tell me that I shouldn't be excited for this show. I am going to say that tomorrow, Steele, on Breakfast with Boom, we are going to be covering an article that was written by Destin Legary. Obviously, you know, he works with IGN. He has an incredible 100K channel of his own. He wrote an article that basically said the PlayStation Showcase was good for Xbox. And it's a good article. It's well written. It's well versed. I agree with him for a lot of reasons, but I have some other thoughts that we're going to specifically cover tomorrow on Breakfast with Boom. But I am going to say that, and again, subjectively, Steele, I think that there was enough here to openly and confidently suggest that there's going to be something Fable, whether it is the gameplay or an in-engine trailer of the new Playground, reboot, announcement for a collection, or a combination of both. Something Fable is going to be there now, and I have to say this, folks, because then I would be a fraud. I'm here to tell you that if they put this out there, and this had to be approved by somebody from marketing had to approve this.
Yeah.
If Fable turns out to be a nothing burger at this show, understand I'm going to give Microsoft and Xbox the business.
Yeah, it's another marketing mishap.
Yeah, it would be a giant L.
Yeah.
For marketing.
I agree.
But let me catch up on some of these super chats. We have one that comes in the way of Stay High Triple F. I took a screenshot of this, and I'm gonna hand your suggestion off to Sean Labrie, who is one of the artists that I'm working with exclusively now. And he basically says, after dropping a very generous $5 super chat, you should make a comic book style Boom. I like that idea, with the speech bubble and the finger up saying, "I think you're onto something," and I think that is dope. I'm gonna hand that to Sean and see what he can come up with, and I'm gonna give you all credit for it. Obviously, I'll give you. You know what? If he could figure something out, I will send you the shirt. You give me a size, DM me your shirt. I will buy the shirt for you and send you the shirt. Drawn TJ drops a very generous $20 super chat and says, on the R&R show with Lord Addict and Dirt Griggity, Addict said that they think State of Decay 3 won't be at the showcase. It's been 5 years in development with help from the Coalition. It's been 2 years since we saw CGI. I believe it would be considered 3 years. Didn't we see that for the 2020 show? I'm pretty sure it was a 2020 show. So it would be now running on 3 years. I don't know. I look, we heard Rand talk about the quote unquote, as it's known on Reddit, as the elusive 5. That's one of them. I would love to see an update for that game. I hope that it is everything that we hope State of Decay could be multiplayer. Personally, selfishly, I hope that there is a single player element that allows you to create your character, play through a single player campaign, i.e. Days Gone, right? Big open world, go at it. Have your single player, have your multiplayer. Bring your character in. If your character dies, in the multiplayer, tough titty, as they say. I just hope. Again, I like multiplayer. I just don't have the time for it. So selfishly, this is why I'm attracted to Zelda Tears of the Kingdom or God of War or Horizon or like for instance, Redfall. It has multiplayer, but it gave me a single player experience. I experienced the whole game by myself, and I had a blast. I hope that they offer that single player aspect to State of Decay 3. We also have Jacob Novick drops a very generous additional $10 super chat and says, "Hi all, boom, I did DM you. The DM is about that if you zoom in on the pad in the car of the Spider-Man 2 trailer, you can see the text MDJN00201123, and he says, so can the release date be November 20th, 2020? Dude, that is some crazy epic detective work. That's interesting. Look, they said September originally. That's the rumor. I don't know why you'd want to go up against Starfield. I know that Spider-Man is big, and Spider-Man 2 is going to sell 10 million copies the first couple of weeks. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, Naughty Dog. Insomniac Games notorious for these little like nuggets of information. That's pretty good detective work, dude. That's November would be a good time for that to drop. I mean, they're going to go up against Call of Duty, but it's Spider-Man. Who's not going to buy Spider-Man, for crying out loud? It's got Venom. It's got all his bad guys. It's got the Lizard. It's got Kraven the Hunter. I mean, what's not to get excited about? Plus, of course, Spider-Verse. The second part is this week, this Friday, which I have to see at some point. But look, we are at the 70-minute mark, folks, and I cannot thank you enough. We had almost 800 people in the chat. That is crazy. Like I said, this is still a small channel. We just crossed on last night's show. We're at 12.5. We are just under 500 to go to hit 13K. I said it last night. I'll say it again. I would love to potentially hit that by June 11th. I don't think that's going to happen. That's 500 subs. We're just not as popular as like the Randall Thors and the Colt Eastwoods and Dealer Gaming. Maybe one day we'll get there, but we're happy with the success. I do want to thank all of the very generous super chats that have come in. We are humbled every time we see the amount of generosity that comes our way. So thank you. And Steele had to step away for a second. I'm just going to go to the chat and see what you guys and gals are saying. I mean, look, while we wait for Steele to come back, and we still have some time. Throw your most anticipated game for the showcase into the chat right now. I'll read them out as they come live on the air. Let me know what you think. For me personally, it's Fable, man, and this is even before this trailer, because like I said, I'm very, very privileged to know someone on the development team, and every time I speak with them, my mind, remember, I'm just a knucklehead podcaster. I have no development skills whatsoever. So when I hear the behind the scenes stuff, I get super, super excited because, I'm a diehard gamer and I'm a huge fan and I love playground games. And I still think that the same way the Killzone team went from a first person, very mediocre shooter, in Killzone, and then released Horizon. I mean, listen, I know that I have the two I'm not as big as a fan of. I still love Horizon 1, one of my favorite new IPs from Sony, and I love Aloy as a character. If they can do it, why couldn't Playground Games do it? And we know Playground Games has hired people that worked on God of War, Metal Gear Solid, Horizon. So let me just while you stepped away for a second, I asked I asked the people what they are most anticipating. Jago6 says Hellblade, Gear 6, Starfield, Fable. Bobby Dazzle says Forza Motorsports. Let's see. Kevin Baldwin says Avowed. Cybers Sekiro says Marcus Phoenix Collection. I really hope that's freaking real. Boss Red, good friend of the program, says he just wants something new and unexpected. I want Banjo. I don't care what anyone says, damn it. I want a new I want a new Banjo. Let's see. Who else is here? Trey Bone 408 wants Avowed. Yeah, so do I. I'm kind of a greedy gamer. Everyone has really good things. Green Goblin in the chat. What's going on, brother? He wants to see something on Indiana Jones. That would be dope. Nicholas Lundith just wants Fable, Killer Instinct, yes, and Gear 6. That is dope. Let's see. Daniel Jilluff wants Persona 6 Xbox exclusive. Yo, that would bring down the freaking house if that happened. Holy cow. We have Dustin Lambert, man after my own heart. He wants a new Banjo-Kazooie. Yes, yes, and yes. Let's see. Daniel Jackson wants a Banjo. Parker Burns wants Wolfenstein 3. Stash Gordon, you're the man, brother. He wants Splinter Cell. I've been saying this I've been wrong every year that I've said this. I would love a new Splinter Cell, and I would like it exclusive, please. Thank you. That would be dope. I appreciate that. Valerian wants Avowed. Let's see. El Nini wants Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Starfield, Space Marine 2. The first two, he's got a lot on those. Batman Jones. Oh, this is a great pick. Jet Set Radio. And we're hearing that actually might be there because they have a nice deal with Sega. Oh, good friend of the program, Predator H2O. What's going on, brother?
I don't know if it's me, Boom, but you sound like you're underwater a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, there it goes. You're better. You're better now.
Okay.
I don't know what that was. That was really strange.
Yeah.
Let me know if it was just me, Chad, but it's not like Boom.
I think it might have been you. It might have been your mic because I thought it was you because I was speaking and I heard like because I don't have any AC or anything. But listen, sorry for the technical hiccup. Steele, listen, let me read these last couple of super chats and then we'll get everyone out of here because again, this is normally a 70-minute show. Chris Gomez, generous friend of the program, drops a $10 super chat and says, keep doing what you're doing. Honest conversation, wide variety of community voices. That's why I listen every chance I can. Hold Microsoft to account. Thanks, Boom. Well, thank you, Chris. That is very kind of you to say, and I appreciate the confidence and I appreciate the generosity. We have Mohammed Scherzes drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Boom, really happy Microsoft is pivoting to single player and Sony is doing the complete opposite. Eat that, Sony fans. Enjoy your out to lunch company. Brother, that's very kind of you to say, and thank you for the generosity. And again, that's true. We did see a roles reversal. Jim Ryan's new PlayStation, heavy games as a service. And we did hear a couple articles that were written during the week that they are only going to release 2 AAA first-party games per year. The rest are going to be gas games. I don't know if that's what the PlayStation community wants. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that's what they want. I think they're going to get a lot of pushback. But still, we got to have you sell your brand, brother. By all means, talk about Living Split Screen, the best place for Saturday morning content. You and Pong Soul, the dynamic duo, go and drop sometimes 4-hour shows. They're live, they're raw, they're uncut, and of course, they're taken from a third, an RTS perspective. Love what you do. Talk about it.
Yeah, so that RTS perspective, for those who don't know, that's that real-time strategy where you pull yourself out of the world, you look at the darker crevices on the map, you pull those resources together so you can build not only your own foundation, but potentially reach those 3 billion gamers that Phil Spencer always talks about. But yeah, Living Split Screen, it's a non-console-centric platform. We talk about everything that's going on within the industry. And again, from that RTS approach, but also we throw a lot of that ECP in there, and that's that educated consumer perspective. Because we aren't lawyers, we don't work for these companies. We can only take our own professional experience and life experiences, and our experiences as gamers overall, and give that to you all and see what you guys feel about that. Have open conversations and just be passionate about everything that we do, man. Because gaming is art, should be treated as such, and at least that's how I personally look at it. Tonight we will be doing, and tonight is going to be June 1st, around 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Central, somewhere around there. Diablo 4 live stream. There's going to be plenty of spoilers in there, so definitely, if you're worried about spoilers, don't come in. I'm going to tell you right now, cutscenes, everything. If you're looking to just get an experience with Diablo, maybe you've never jumped in before, come check me out. I'm going to be live on Living Split Screen, getting that streamed out there, day one, early access. So for those who want to come hang out, and while you stop through, sub to the channel if you can. We're on that road to 1K. We're building up. We're doing it organically. And I've been saying that more so recently because look, everybody do what you feel like you need to do to become successful. But I would never try to sit here and pay my way for subs or likes or views.
That's ridiculous.
And I've been seeing that again here recently.
The grassroots way of doing honest content.
Right.
Is the best way. Again, listen, make your content how you want to make it. I would never sell out. Pong would never sell out, and certainly Still Rain will never sell out for 100%. Subs. They're important. There's no doubt about it, and it's a metric that as a content creator we have to gauge. We have to, we worry about because we want to be successful. But yeah, you're always going to get the truth from us, and you're always going to get content that's honest, thought-provoking, and more importantly, fun. Steele.
Yeah, 1,000%. It's part of the reason why we don't do giveaways or anything, like at least not right now, because we do want to build that base that truly does support us and loves us for us and what we're trying to do. So then we can grow and then we can, start cutting deals and promo deals and whatnot, and start working some other things in there for the community so everybody can benefit. Because that's the point, right? We want to see the community grow. I still believe us as gamers have the most impact in this industry, and the more we continue to have this open conversation, the more we're able to be hand in hand with each other. We don't have to agree on everything. I think the better off we will be. And like Boom, I like to leave people with a little something. Look, people, something my mom told me within the last few years, 10 years, last decade, I should say. And it's, don't expect for other people to think like you think.
Yep. Great point.
Much love, everybody.
Great stuff as always. Real quick, Jerron TJ says this after dropping an additional very generous $2 super chat. I want Mecha Salt too, but sadly, we won't get it. I mean, listen, Phil.
Yeah, it's in limbo.
It's in limbo because of the IP.
Licensing,
man, if there's one person, I tell you, what I'd like to see, and it would be a great surprise. It's unlikely, but I think that the game still slaps. Crimson Skies is dope. I still think it's fantastic, and it would be a great multiplayer game because it's an airplane shooter as well as the story-driven content. That actually would be kind of dope. Spider-Man drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, we're wrong. The tease with glitter was for Gear 6.
Oh, nice. It's going to be a very fairy-driven game.
It's going to be a fairy-driven. I love it. But listen, folks, once again, thank you for the generosity. Thank you for making this show as popular it has become. Because like I said, this is one of the shows that originally wasn't doing well. I was going to sunset the show. And, sometimes we do things and it doesn't work. But I'm glad that you're enjoying the one-on-one content. Steele, thank you so much for being here as always. And of course, before we get out of here, folks, I'm going to close out with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.